Welcome to the yoga practice today. I have prepared just very basic little things. I've prepared a block. I've got a blanket sitting there, and that's basically it for today. If you have your usual props like bolsters and things for comfort, they are very useful, so don't leave them out, please. And we'll begin lying down on the back. So perhaps finding comfort. And as you come to lie down, please just simply make it a comfortable lying position. This could be legs out long. This might be with your knees bent. And sometimes I also find that when the knees are bent, it just allows the back to soften a bit more. So perhaps as we will begin here with awareness and breathing practice, that might be your choice. So seeing how that goes as you find the ground underneath you and a potential perhaps even to close your eyes. As you might close the eyes, taking away that sense of seeing, there's perhaps more room in the mind to explore yourself. The way you've positioned yourself there on your mat, the way the body feels in contact with the mat. And as you explore these sensations, perhaps there's also sensations within your body that you need to notice. And as you find your way here, allowing then to explore perhaps deeper into feeling the energy that you're bringing today, the mind, and how that is resonating with you at this point. Then perhaps allowing yourself to settle, aware of the being that you are and working with in this practice. I'd like to share a poem to start with. It's Badana Falls, and it brings us back to why we're actually doing this. It's called yoga. Yoga is not about the pose. It's not the alignment of toes or hips or shoulders. It's not about the form. Yoga is an invitation to explore, not a command performance. It speaks the language of the soul. In the flow of breath and motion, yoga coaxes us from the confines of the known across the silent threshold into vastness. Yoga is the union of prayer and movement, guided from inside. It is healing and the joy of saying yes to life. Breathe, relax, and feel the body receive its own truth. The seed of freedom flowers within each of us whenever we are open to what's real. As we begin this practice and look within already, we're coming into this practice of movement, breath, and body with the mind, with all that we can feel and experience. Perhaps beginning now with a full yogi breath, where you allow your belly to expand as you breathe into the lower lobes of the lungs, where then your ribs are starting to open up, and where you're filling the lungs so much that you come right to the top underneath your collarbone. And when you breathe out, let the belly come back first. The lower ribs releasing, the rib cage softening, and then finally the upper chest only to start again breathing into the belly, the lower ribs, and all the way up towards the collarbone, and back out from the belly to the ribs, to the collarbone. Now continue your breathing like this, allowing each breath to travel from belly to ribs to collarbone. If any of you feel familiar or know what Ujjayi technique is, you might apply that like constriction in the back of the throat. Just as an add-on to that full yogi or 3-part breath. Each breath still flowing from the belly into the ribs and expanding right up to the collarbone. Keeping your breath flowing like this, and perhaps even finding a rhythm. Similar length for the in and out breath. And perhaps that remains just a feeling rather than a counting. Perhaps you begin to notice how it is quite opening when you're breathing in. And perhaps beginning also to notice how relaxing it might be to breathe out. Or given that the breath is flowing fully but without any strain or stress. Full yogi or Ujjayi breath. Remain aware of the breath for only 2 more. And when you completed these 2 breaths, returning again to natural breathing in and out of the nostrils. You could, once you've had a couple of natural breaths, take a deeper one, and perhaps even extend your whole body out long. You might lengthen a bit more into one side and then the other. And if that is available to you, then bending your elbows, where you might place your fingers just slightly behind your head. If this isn't possible, perhaps cactus arms are leaving arms out. I will rest mine differently according to the shoulder issue, but the other might stay there behind the head. As you make your choices with the arms, then perhaps bending both knees, bringing the feet as well as the knees to touch. You might gently adjust your back here on the floor. So ideally your arms are a little bit out towards the side, perhaps fingers behind the head. And we're squeezing the feet and the knees together before allowing a small little twist by rolling the knees to one side on an out breath, centering them on the in breath. You might choose your breath the other way around, depending on what feels right. Sometimes it feels better to use the exhalation to draw the knees back into center. As this movement may increase in range, please keep your knees and feet touching so that there's only the outer edge of one foot on the floor, the other one is completely off the ground. As you're moving like this from side to side, using the breath and perhaps keeping your shoulders grounded. This movement here, as we're going through the full back release, is more so for your lower back. When you're next completed around to either side, pausing your legs back in center. You may readjust your back again lightly, then lift your feet off the floor. Now bring your knees over your hips and then raise the lower legs up. So when you're flexing the feet, you can just see the toes behind your knees. Your feet and knees are still together. Keep them together and keep the angle of the knees about 90 degrees, starting to move the knees back to one side and into center. So your choice is still the same. You may breathe out into that twist and in to return, or you might breathe into the twist and out to return. As you keep the range of movement here increasing perhaps too, be mindful that each time when your knees come to center, you can still see your toes, and your knees and feet are kind of glued together. There's a good chance that this movement with its alignment is moving your mid-back region. So rather compromising in the range of movement than in any of the alignments. Shoulders grounded, knees and feet touching, 90-degree angle for the knees. When you're next time balanced either side, come back to the center. Let your feet soften towards the buttocks, even the ankles relax, and let your knees drop down towards your chest. Keeping your knees and feet touching, and even more important now, keeping your knees really tight. Arms are still the same, perhaps hands behind the head, as you now use an out breath to bring the knees up to one shoulder, an in breath to let them softly come across, and the out breath drawing them up towards the opposite shoulder. So here we're lifting the knees up like a little tuck, but generally we're moving up towards the shoulder. The knees are staying glued together here too, arms unchanged if that's possible, but we're adding to the twist, tuck up towards the shoulder. Now this little tuck and the alignment here will lead us into a more upper back twist. Keeping knees tightly together, and each time you come towards the shoulder, give the knees an extra tuck up towards it. Maybe 2 more to each side. And when you have completed your round, coming back into the center, landing your feet down comfortably, releasing your arms from behind the head, and perhaps lengthening the arms down along the sides of your body. If you have like a cushion or a blanket underneath the head like myself, I will tuck a little bit of that underneath my neck now. They're supporting the neck a bit more, but leaving the head more or less flat, just a thin cushioning. With the arms by the sides now, separating your knees and stepping the feet down, hip distance apart. I quite like a pressure-free zone that is the knees. When we step the heels quite right up towards the buttocks, there's a lot of compression here. This might feel good for some. I'm not taking away from that. Perhaps it is a little bit easier to move, however, if the feet are simply hip distance, close to the buttocks, but not too close. As you lie here now, take a breath in, tilt your pelvis so the spine flattens, and at the same time starting to raise your hips up. On the out breath, then very slowly, and just if you could touch each vertebra round after the other, lowering to the mat. Spine in neutral, then the inhale to tilt the pelvis again and raise the hips up, really grounding through the feet, perhaps pushing the knees forward. And on the exhale, rolling the spine back down, vertebra at a time until the spine drops to neutral. And then we'll start again, tilting as you breathe in, lifting your hips up, rolling down on the out breath. Now keep the movement in control rather than quick. And the option is to lift the arms up to the ceiling as you're next lifting your hips, and back down as you still control that rolling movement to the floor. Still a tilt on the in-breath, but then lifting, and perhaps the arms are raising up towards the ceiling. On the out-breath, rolling the spine back down and the arms releasing by the side. You feel fantastic doing so. Please continue. Others might reach their arms all the way over their heads onto the floor. And yet still bracing out, rolling down, and the arms returning to the side. Continue in your chosen version, and even if you tried the full extension, you can always choose one of the previous ones if it no longer serves you. Repeating that movement for a few more breaths. As you keep moving, just a couple more. And maybe on your next one, pausing. If your arms are extended over the head, you could leave them there, or you might return only the arms along the sides of your body. Your feet are firmly grounded, as if you were to push your knees forward. Your tailbone might draw up towards the backs of the knees. Shoulders still grounded. Taking a deeper breath in. And on the exhale, then rolling down even more slowly than before. Feeling how each part of the back touches down one after the other, even until you observe your lower back arching away from the floor again, spine in neutral. You might now take another full body stretch if that feels right. Arms might extend again, legs might lengthen. You could stretch more to one side again and then the other. And as you slowly release, then your arms back down along the sides of the body. Bringing your feet back onto the floor. Then perhaps the knees into the chest. And you might give the knees a good hug and squeeze, aiming to soften into your shoulders. And an option on your out breath to lift your nose up towards the knees. You might then release your back again onto the mat and could choose a gentle rocking from side to side. Take a note of how your energy is now. What does your body feel like? Does it really enjoy this rocking? Keep going. Does it feel like you really want to get active now? Then change your rocking and bring it forward and back a few times. If you're rocking side to side, you might then roll onto your side, and perhaps we will all join together in a seated position. For the seated position, I will choose a block and a kneeling pose, Virashasana. If you find this is not yours, sit differently, but perhaps to keep the spine long. So most of the times that's the reason why we come to sit. So we bring length into our spine. Let the shoulders wiggle a little, move them so you find a relaxing position where your hands might be resting upon your thighs. The following pranayama or breathing practice may or may not be for you. You can make a choice here on how it feels. If it makes you feel nauseous or lightheaded, I would recommend to drop back into the full yogi breath from the beginning. The technique is called Kapalabhati, and it's a very fast breathing technique, hence the warning. You sniff each breath out of the nostrils quite quickly, like so. And at the same time, you're drawing your lower abdomen in towards you. So it could look a little bit like that. Play with it. It can be very slow. You could just take a breath, pull in and sniff out of the nose, breathe in again, pull in, sniff out of the nose, or you could make it as fast as you like. Let's start this technique for a little while. And if you feel you've lost it in a sense, which easily happens, just take a deep breath in and out and start at the end of your out breath again. Have a few rounds, perhaps closing your eyes. Let's begin with the in and out breath and then the technique. Lower abdomen pulls in, the breath sniffs out of the nostrils. Then a big breath in again, relax the abdomen, slow breath out of the nostrils and a pause. Using the pause to be aware and observe. Perhaps after this breathing practice, you feel a little rise of energy. And you could choose now a deeper breath in and perhaps leaning forward to change our position from sitting into standing. Stand up in any shape or form that is supportive for you. And as you come to stand, you might just walk out a feet from side to side, putting all props, including caps, out of the way. And as you're landing on your feet again, draw the inner heels towards each other. Then make a bowl out of your hands and place one onto the lower abdomen or in front of it. Place the other hand on top. So the bowls are facing each other. They sit around your abdomen, your shoulders are relaxed. Inner heels might lightly draw together, and you could, for a moment, close the eyes. Taking in what you notice that you feel in your hands. Perhaps you notice an energy field between the hands. Perhaps you notice effects on your body or the mind. Perhaps even both. Let's blink the eyes open and find a steady gazing point. We will return to this mudra. It's called Hatha Mudra. As you take your next inhale, open your top arm, turn the head and look into a tan. On the out breath, bring the hands back into the mudra and centering your gaze. Lower arm opens and you might turn your gaze into the tan. The out breath, the gaze centers, the hands back in Pala Mudra. Let's repeat that, opening the top arm, turning the head. Exhale, closing the mudra and centering. Inhaling, lower arm open. Exhaling, centering again. One more as we open up now, turning the head. But on the exhale, could that arm come over the head and into a side bend. Lifting back up, turning the arm out. and closing the mudra again as you center. Lower arm opens, breath in. Arm might come over the head, side bend, breath out. Inhale, arm might open again. Out, breath back to Pala Mudra. One more round to each side as you open top hand. Out, breath, side bend. Inhale, open. Exhale, mudra. Lower arm opens, breath in. Out, breath, side bend. Inhale, open again. And exhale, bring it in. You might even lower your gaze or close your eyes and just hold the mudra once more for a couple of breaths. As you blink your eyes back open, let both arms reach out. Open the mudra, perhaps lifting your left toes off the floor, perhaps pointing them down. Now spread out your bowls, spread out your fingers, star pose. Then land back on both feet, reclaim the bowls and bring them back together for Pala Mudra. Other side, opening the arms out wide. Perhaps the big toe to the floor, perhaps lifting all the way. Spreading again out into the fingers, nice and wide. And then releasing the foot back down and again reclaiming your mudra. As we stand at the front end of the mat, relaxing your arms now and finding a mountain pose. The inner heels might still be lightly active there. As you are standing tall here, we're taking a breath in to raise the right knee. On the out breath, take a big step back and let your hips turn towards the long side end of the mat. The heel of the back foot is just a little bit further out, so in an angle. The front knee is bending right over the ankle joint. The feet are drawing in towards each other. Your arms might reach out for warrior two. With the arms up high, please be aware of shoulder tension. If there's any, you might try the palms facing up or softening even through the elbows. Finding your positioning for the arms. The gaze is forward, and again, you might be looking into the palm of the hand or towards the fingertips. Your feet are drawing in for a solid stand. Virabhadrasana 2. And as you breathe in now, straighten the front leg, raise your arms, turn your back toes out, bring the hands together and perhaps come onto the heel of the front foot. Claiming a version of Skandasana, you might even be able to rest the forearm onto the thigh. Some of you might want to come all the way to the floor. You could use your hands on the ground and keep the front leg extended. These are options of keeping that arm on the thigh and lengthening your spine. If you're this low, you might also play with extending the arm over the leg. Perhaps the palm here pushes in that direction. And if you really feel playful, you might try and lift the other hand off the floor, perhaps even like an archer pulling back, but please be playful. Then let's release all hands down, lift up into the center, turn your heels out and align the outer edges of your feet. And while you're exhaling now, folding forward into the space between your legs. Wide-legged forward bend or Prasarita Padottanasana. The weight here leans towards the front of the foot or the toes. The hands or fingertips might be on the floor and your shoulders might gently lift up to their sockets. Lengthening your out breath as you deepen the shape. Then coming back up onto the fingertips, turning the toes back to the front side end of the mat. Walk the hands to either side. Raise your back, knee, heel, both. Bring the knee down to the floor. And perhaps the second knee steps back too. Leaning a little bit forward here, finding a kneeling plank. If you prefer full plank, toes can tuck under, knees lifting off the mat. Keeping your elbows close on the out, but landing down onto the front of the body. Perhaps even resting the forehead down. Grounding through the tops of the feet. Hands under the shoulders, and perhaps a gentle lift for a baby cobra. Some might use grown-up cobras. Push a little bit more into the mat. Be aware that the tops of the feet are grounding so that the knees are lightly lifting. The lower body is strong and supportive of your back bend or Bhujangasana, Cobra pose. Breathing in once more, and then out to release to the floor. On the in-breath, lifting up onto the hands and the knees. You might even bring your knees a little bit forward, round your spine, and perhaps step towards the heels. A little movement here from side to side might feel nourishing. On the inhale, then rolling the spine back up, landing on hands and knees. If you're happy here, please stay or draw toes under, and then out breath to lift the knees for a down dog. In either form, or for the down dog, move a bit, but movement out of alignment. Hips, legs moving, shoulders, perhaps the neck. And then bringing your knees or feet forward towards the front side end of the mat, standing forward then. Inhaling, lengthening your spine, half lift. Out back to fold back down. Leave your knees soft and wait for an exhale to uncurl the spine into standing. Raise your shoulders when you get there. Give them a shrug and perhaps opening the palms to the front as we land again in the mountain. Shifting the weight lightly to the right as you might lift your left knee up. As you step the foot far back again, turn the pelvis again towards the open side or the long side edge of the mat. Back heel slightly further out. Front knee bends over the ankle. Once that is occurring, you might draw your feet inward. Your gaze forward. And as you breathe in, put your arms lift. The same here, modify the arms if it's not right for the shoulders, or even rest the hand down if the shoulder isn't quite right. Maintaining the strong stance, the drawing inward, and fixing your gaze at the front, at your fingertips, or into the palm of the hand if it is facing upwards. A solid drishti or gazing point. Strong lower body, ease in shoulders and breath. On the inhale now, turn your back toes out, raise your arms, straighten your legs, lifting the front foot as we come to the heel and starting to bend the back knee, hands towards the heart as you might lower even your forearm to the thigh. So this could be your position. All is possible from here. If you would like to go deeper, bring the hands down and see if you can sit low. The heel stays on the floor, everything else is the same. Trying to keep your spine long in any variation you might have chosen. And perhaps there is the right arm that extends over this extended leg, and there might be a little flexion there in the wrist. If you feel playful, you might then try to bring the other arm off the floor. And if you happen to sit down, please make sure before that occurs that it is safe to sit back. Then release your hands back down to the ground. Lower the foot. Lift your hips back into the center. And once more, turn your heels out so the outer edges of the feet align. You could come back to the same forward bend and leave your hands here, or you might choose a pistol grip of your big toes. In that case, shoulders lift as well, but your elbows might spread out as you draw yourself closer to the space in between your legs. Perhaps using a few longer out breaths, the weight sitting towards the toes, but the whole foot is on the floor. Releasing hands from toes, lifting back up halfway. Turning your right foot again to the front side end of the mat. And now lowering your left knee down. Untuck the toes perhaps. And as you launch a little bit forward, keeping the front knee over the ankle joint. You might use a block here. It could be very useful to have the hands a little bit higher so that your spine is again lengthening while you might opt for a hip stretch. I feel the floor is further away than usual today. As you breathe in, slide your hips back. Lift the sole of the front foot and perhaps slide your heel a bit further forward. If you're using a block, have the block rather a bit closer towards you. Or if you have your hands down onto the ground, you might allow them to come a bit back too. Choosing to flex or floint your front foot. Flointing is where the toes draw back and the ball of the foot pushes forward. You might then slowly lower your torso, reaching down towards your extended leg. And some might even be able to bring feet or hands down. Keep your shoulders relaxed in their sockets and take a few breaths into Ardha Hanumanasana, half monkey god shape. You might then come back to fingertips or blocks, bend your front knee. Now bring the hands within, raise your back knee, and walk your hands all the way around. So now the right knee might come to the floor. You could again use a block here underneath your hands. As you bring your hips forward to start with, placing the knee over the ankle and achieving that by wiggling your foot into place. You could also use fingertips on floor, but aim to have a long spine as you sink into that hip and foot stretch. Ashwasanchalanasana, the horse rider shape. As you next inhale, start to move your hips back, coming up onto the heel of the foot and perhaps the heel slides a bit forward. Now same here, you're using a block, bring it a bit back. You're using your hands on either side, have them a little bit back too. Then choose between flexing or flointing the foot. And then an out breath as you begin to lower the upper body towards your front extended leg. Shoulders easy, hands might be fully supporting now. And finding a few breaths to stay here. Aware of the out breath. As you breathe in, bend the front knee again. Now tucking backside toes under, lift the knee. And you might now take a step forward into Uttanasana or standing forward bend. Half lift perhaps to lengthen the spine. Out breath to fold again. With your knees soft, wait for the exhale and use that to uncurl the spine back into a standing position. Perhaps your shoulders are rising, and you might allow a gentle shrug back to land again in your mountain. I hope you did take time, and maybe you can still feel, if you tune in with the body, the energy is slowly moving down towards the feet, helping you now to be grounded. You might now raise your right knee and turn it outwards. This will be a tree posture with Palamudra. So choosing where to place the foot, anywhere but against your knee really, and then rising up from your standing side before the right hand comes under and the left hand on top, creating back, Palamudra. Find your steady gazing point and toes stand right out from the hip to the crown. If you see it appropriate and would like the challenge, let your lower arm now open out and perhaps taking it up over the head. Taking your arm back out and bringing it back to the mudra. Landing your foot. Relax the arms. Standing in the mountain. Other heel might lift and you could turn the knee back out, finding your tree, however high you choose to place the foot. Anywhere but against your knee before you're grounding down into the standing leg, rising from the hip to the crown. Then bringing the right hand back underneath, your left hand on top. As you stand tall, finding your mountain and its steadiness. Perhaps the calm is assisted by the mudra. And if you enjoy a challenge, let the top arm open as you might carefully turn. And you could reach this arm up. Breath in as you bring your arm back out. And joining back into the mudra. As you land your foot down, release even Pala Mudra. As you stand, could you reach your arms open, lift your chin to open your front and take a deep breath. Only to bend your knees deeply and roll the spine down to a forward bend as a transition to bring the knees down onto the ground. While I will now use a prop as a folded blanket and pop that underneath, extending the legs out in front. You might choose to bring the right knee into a bend and land the foot on the inside of the extended leg. Finding that space where you're looking between the legs and flexing the foot on the long side. The back of the left hand then goes against the inside of the leg and build a little bit of resistance so the torso might turn. You could slide your right hand into the side of the waist. Keep your gaze sideways, the resistance lightly between hand and leg, and brace out to lean towards the leg. The hand might slide in the direction of the foot and ankle. Your gaze up there is not right, turn it downwards. But keep using hand and leg as resistance points so that the top shoulder is back. Any of you feel like extending the back arm over the head and over the leg, feel free to do so. In that case, the palm of your hand is facing down. Maintaining that light resistance and openness. To release, let your arm, shoulders soften down, walking your hands back up extending the bent leg and swapping sides. So the foot again might rest somewhere to the inside of the leg. And as you come to a seat, facing the space between the legs by flexing again the foot on the long leg. Now bringing the back of your right hand against the inside of the leg and allowing a gentle resistance so the body turns open to the side. Your left hand might begin in the side of the waist, and when you're breathing out, the hand might slide down the inside of the leg, still a light resistance so that you can keep your top shoulder back. Keep a flexion in the foot, but perhaps turn the gaze down if that's easier for the neck. Top shoulder is unchanged, and any of you who would like to extend the back arm over the head could do so and let the palm of the hand face down. Yes, we're still working with the resistance, so we're remaining more in a side than in a forward fold. Rolling arm and shoulder back into the center. Coming to a seated position, and both legs might extend out long. I will be coming off my sitting support, and I would highly recommend legs up the wall pose today. So if you have a piece of furniture or a ball you could bring your legs up upon, please do so. I think most of you will be aware that you could also do that freely lying on the mat. I will have a brief demo here just in case you don't have a wall. You would lie down, knees bent, lift your hips up onto the block underneath the sacrum, and you would then extend your legs up. More relaxing is the legs up the wall, but a good alternative if you don't have that space. Now, if you're working with the wall or the door, sit with one side of the hip towards it. You might have your blanket there as like cushion. You might even have your block nearby. As you roll down onto your back, keep the hips next to the wall and then bring your legs up the wall. If this is you and you would like your hips up, bend your knees, feet against the wall, then let your block or cushioning come underneath and extend the legs back up towards the ceiling. You will notice where it is best to support yourself. Landing here on your back, arms might be open at this point. Let the energy settle and become really aware of that flow of energy. There could be, especially if your hips are up, quite a rush towards the center of the chest and the head. If anything becomes uncomfortable, bend your knees, roll over to your side, and find balance in these energies lying on the side of the body. If you are here with me and you observe what is happening in the body, keep the mind there, and if it's wandering, guide it back towards observation. If you would like to add a short meditation to this relaxing pose, please don't feel obliged. You might place the right hand just like a bowl again onto your lower abdomen, and you might bring the left hand on top, leaving that space between the hands, and perhaps your shoulders are finding some ease. I can be easy in the right side here and will now pop a blanket as a support underneath the other elbow. Please feel free to use measures of support underneath your elbows too. Could be blankets, it could also be a block. If you are choosing to come along with the hand position, leave it restful. The both facing each other as you explore the feelings and sensations again. You might even feel that your breath is gently traveling down in the direction of the lower abdomen, perhaps right there where currently your mudra sits. You might even find that place that you're entering in your mind like a quiet sanctuary, following the rhythm of your natural breath moving your abdomen. You might now invite your legs into your inner sanctuary. Now welcoming your pelvis, abdomen, and low back into your sanctuary. Connecting with the body parts, soft rhythmic breathing. Allow your chest and upper back to bask in the tranquility of your inner sanctuary. Perhaps beginning to experience lightness and ease. Inviting your shoulders, arms, and hands and fingers into the sanctuary, allowing them to relax completely. Now your neck, head, enter and rest within your sanctuary of tranquility. Allowing eyes, ears, mouth, and jaw to soften. Now allow your entire body to rest within your inner sanctuary, experiencing calm and tranquility. If you find to hold the mudra is easy, you might keep it a tad bit longer. If you prefer to relax, let your arms drift out now. You might even keep that feeling of peace and harmony, aware of all the parts of your body with you. If you haven't released the mudra, this might be a good time now. As you could choose to bend your knees back into your chest, and if you are against the wall, just rolling to your comfortable side. If you're on your back, please step the feet back down, lift your hips, remove your support, and land back down on the mat softly. I'd ask you to transition in your own way into Shavasana or a relaxation pose. You might enjoy your legs out long. You could choose to have feet wide, knees bend, and knees tooling in. Arms might relax away from the body now. Palms could be facing upwards. Having as many movements as you need to come from the awareness of your body, a space of inner calm, to return to the space of inner calm, with your body now completely resting. The energies might balance themselves. as you might rest in your inner sanctuary. I have chosen a card for us today, and it is a card called Clear Day. Clear-headedness. Such an elusive and wonderful gift. What will it take to get really clear about your next step right now? Perhaps it was landing within that inner sanctuary that was required. It may come down to clarifying values and priorities, taking cues from your journal and from what has been given the most joy lately. Reflect on what is truly providing the most happiness and use that as a starting point to make decisions in the future. When it comes to your personal joy, the answer may be clearer than you think. Perhaps this card of the clear day brought an intention to your mind. Perhaps it was more that inner sense of calm and wholeness that you created. If you do find an intention, word it to yourself as if already occurred silently through time. Letting the intention manifest. You might then start to gently deepen the breath, feeling a part of you becoming more active again, and noticing how everything is connected. As when you deepen your breath, your body starts moving, your mind might become more alert to the fact that you're lying there. As your breath increases, so it might be a desire for movement coming back, and you could choose to have another full body stretch or move in a way that feels right for you. Eventually coming to join me as you might roll to your side or rise up over the front in the seated position. This mudra with the right hand under, the left hand in a little distance sitting on top, can be very useful to practice if you're feeling a little bit restless, out of sorts perhaps. It's simple, yes, it can provide you with that sense of inner calmness, a safe place to be in. Perhaps taking this memory of the safe place now between the palms of your hands as you let them rest in Anjali Mudra in front of your heart. We all share these spaces, yet they are very individual. We'll extend from there with a bow to each other. Namaste.